Parents who've been waiting for children under the age of 12 to be cleared to receive a COVID-19 vaccine should be getting news in a matter of days. Approval is expected before the end of the month, with a full rollout for younger kids as soon as early November. The potential for vaccines for kids under 12 may bring with it a downside, an increase in divorced parents who don't agree on whether to vaccinate their children. Lawyers across the country are seeing an increase in parents bitterly divided on this, leaving kids stuck in the middle. And it varies from state to state and in specific divorce agreements. But generally speaking, custody breaks down to two kinds. Physical custody, meaning which parent the kids physically stay with and for how long, and legal custody, which involves all kinds of important stuff like where the child goes to school, religious upbringing, and medical care. These kinds of issues typically require parents to agree, which can be a real problem for those who don't see eye to eye on the vaccine. Let's get more details about this with our guest from New York, Jacqueline Newman, attorney and author of The New Rules of Divorce. Hello, Jacqueline. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.
Sure thing. Well, first up, you have likely seen issues too numerous to count when it comes to divorce. But did you see this one coming? Ex-spouses going to court over whether to vaccinate their child?
Well, I didn't see this whole pandemic coming, so no, I definitely did not anticipate this. But once the pandemic began and vaccines began, yeah, we saw this coming down the pike, and it's just going to get worse, and there's going to be much more litigation once it becomes legal for younger children to be vaccinated.
All right, so button up for this one. You got to feel for people that they have enough issues with divorce. It's painful enough, and now this. But in a divorce, which parent decides whether a child should or should not get a vaccine? Who has the power to make medical decisions?
Well, just as you had earlier said, if there's already a custody agreement in place, and if the legal custody goes to one parent where they get to make major decisions in regards to medical, it's going to fall under that. However, in many situations, people have joint legal custody, or people that are going through a divorce and don't have a parenting agreement yet, they may not have decided. So that's going to be where the battles come in.
Right. And if a parent takes their ex-spouse to court, what legal arguments, if they are against a vaccine, should they come armed with to present to a judge?
It's about best interest of the children. And, I'm from New York, and as you know, New York is very, very pro-vaccine. And we've had cases where, in my office specifically, we had a case where somebody didn't want to vaccinate, a post-judgment issue. And the court said, you're not going to see your child in person unless you vaccinate or get tested. So New York is taking it very seriously. Other states may be handling it differently, but courts are going to take it seriously, and they want to protect their children. But the standard is the best interest.
And does a child get a say in court over something like this?
Probably not. Not at those kind of ages. When you're dealing with children that are 12 and below, usually if children are older, obviously over 18, they'd be able to make the decisions. But earlier than that, I can't see them really weighing in.
So what would you advise divorced parents to do to try and come to an agreement without having to go to court?
I mean, a lot of people will go through mediation. Unfortunately, this is the type of thing, there really is no kind of middle ground. Either you're getting it or you're not. And I think, again, in New York, a lot of the schools are mandating it, restaurants are mandating it. I mean, it's a way of life. And that is one of the arguments that also goes into the best interest of the children, to the degree of, in order to function a lot in New York City, most people are being vaccinated. So in order to come to an agreement, I think people need to take the advice of their pediatricians. I think they need to sit down and really think about what this means in a bigger picture if you don't vaccinate your child, and how your child will be limited. But yes, do your best to stay out of court. That's usually my advice.
Yeah. You can certainly understand why this would be an issue when there's been so much misinformation, battles over mask wearing in this city, that has probably led to some parents really wanting to make sure they're doing the right thing. We really appreciate your insights. Jacqueline Newman, attorney and author of The New Rules of Divorce. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.